Hi, I'm Ron Kenoly, and I just wanted to talk to you about something about praise and worship. As most of you know, I've been a praise and worship leader. All of my ministry career, I've been a praise and worship leader.
Shockwaves are rippling through the gospel world tonight. Legendary worship leader Ron Kenoly, the voice behind some of the most iconic praise songs in history, has passed away at 81. From chart-topping anthems to unforgettable live performances, his music touched millions. But his final days were filled with health struggles, private battles, and a legacy that now feels both monumental and fragile. Today, we uncover the life, the music, and the final moments of a man who changed gospel worship forever, and the story behind his peaceful passing that few know about. Ron Kenoly wasn't just a singer, he was a movement. For over 4 decades, his voice, energy, and passion for worship carried millions around the world into moments of praise. From his breakthrough album Lift Him Up to the iconic anthem Ancient of Days, Kenoly redefined gospel music, blending traditional worship with contemporary rhythms that spoke to every generation. But behind the vibrant concerts and jubilant choruses, there was a man who faced personal challenges, health struggles, and the complexities of life in the spotlight. In this video, we'll take you through Ron Kenoly's extraordinary journey, his family, his legendary music, the health battles that marked his final years, and the last moments before his passing on February 3rd, 2026. By the end of this story, you'll not only understand why his music changed worship forever, but also see the human side of a gospel legend whose influence stretched across 123 nations. And stay tuned, because in just a few minutes, we'll reveal the heartfelt message Kenoly shared publicly just 2 days before his passing, words that now carry a haunting prophetic weight. Ron Kenoly's story begins long before the bright lights of international worship stages. Born in 1944, Ron grew up in a world where gospel music was more than entertainment. It was survival, encouragement, and a language of hope. His earliest memories were filled with the sounds of church choirs, hymns, and the vibrant rhythm of praise that would later define his career. From a young age, it was clear that Ron was drawn to music not just as a talent but as a calling. Family played a central role in shaping the man who would become a global worship icon. His first marriage to Tavita lasted over 42 years, a testament to love, partnership, and shared faith. Together, they raised 3 sons, Samuel, Ronald, and Tony. Family life wasn't without its struggles, but it provided a foundation of stability and purpose, grounding Ron even as his musical ambitions began to soar. Tavita's passing in the early to mid-2000s marked a profound loss, one that left Ron navigating both grief and a deepening commitment to his ministry. In 2014, Ron remarried, this time to Diana, a United Nations ambassador at large. Their union brought a new chapter of companionship, support, and shared vision. Diana's presence wasn't just personal. It was a partnership that amplified Ron's mission of spreading worship globally. She became a witness to the late stages of his ministry, supporting him through health challenges and the demands of a legendary career. Even as his family life unfolded, Ron Kenoly's devotion to music never wavered. He poured his heart into learning, arranging, and leading worship in ways that would later set new standards for gospel performance. His early years weren't without challenges: long hours of practice, financial strain, and the balancing act of family versus ministry. But these obstacles only strengthened his resolve. By the time he released his first major hit, Jesus is Alive, under Integrity Music, Ron had already built a life that combined personal devotion, family love, and an unshakable passion for worship. What many don't realize is that behind the uplifting music and high-energy performances was a man who faced real human struggles. His sons, particularly Samuel, have spoken candidly about their father's battles with health in recent years, including hospitalizations and heart-related concerns. These moments reveal the vulnerability of a man who, while seemingly larger than life on stage, was profoundly human in his day-to-day life. And yet, it's in this foundation, his upbringing, his family, and the unwavering support of those closest to him, that the seeds of Ron Kenoly's global influence were planted. Every song, every album, and every concert traced back to the lessons learned at home: resilience, faith, and the power of heartfelt worship. But while his family shaped the man, the world would soon see how Ron's voice could transcend borders. From the local church to international stages, his music began a journey that would touch 123 nations. A journey marked not just by talent, but by a heart committed to glorifying God in every note. And just when it seemed his path was fully established, health challenges would cast shadows over his later years. shadows that make the story of his final days all the more poignant. Ron Kenoly didn't just sing gospel music, he reimagined it. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the landscape of contemporary worship was evolving, but few artists were able to bridge the gap between traditional gospel, urban rhythms, and international appeal. Ron Kenoly became that bridge. His music wasn't just meant to be heard. It was meant to be experienced. Large choirs, intricate R&B influenced arrangements, and high-energy performances became his signature style, turning worship into a global phenomenon. The breakthrough came in 1992 with the release of his album, Lift Him Up. This wasn't just another gospel record, it was a movement. The title track became a congregational anthem, sung in churches across the world. The album itself was certified gold, and at the time, held the distinction of being the fastest-selling worship album in history. But it wasn't just about sales, it was about impact. Through Lift Him Up, Kenoly created a sound that invited people to engage actively in worship, breaking down the barrier between performer and congregation. Following the success of Lift Him Up, Kenoly continued to innovate. God is Able in 1994 reached #1 on the Christian music charts, further solidifying his influence. The album introduced a more rhythmic contemporary worship style that drew listeners from diverse musical backgrounds. Songs like Ancient of Days and Be Glorified became staples of Sunday services, not just in the United States, but internationally. These tracks weren't simply performed, they were celebrated. Choirs swelled, hands lifted, and hearts opened in ways that few worship albums had achieved before. In 1995, Kenoly released Sing Out with One Voice, an album that would solidify his global presence, especially across Africa. The recording combined African rhythmic influences with his signature gospel style, creating a sound that transcended borders. His music now spoke not just to English-speaking congregations, but to millions worldwide who found in his songs a universal language of worship and praise. He didn't stop there. Albums like Welcome Home, 1998, showcased both his versatility and his commitment to excellence. Welcome Home earned the GMA Dove Award for Praise and Worship Album of the Year in 1997. While Majesty impressed listeners with regal arrangements, including a reprise of the famous Hallelujah chorus. These projects weren't just collections of songs, they were experiences designed to elevate worship to its highest expression. Kenoly's music was also characterized by its heartfelt message. Songs like Morning into Dancing captured the joy and release that worship could bring, while tracks like Anointing Fall on Me and We Offer Praises highlighted his ability to balance reverence with exuberance. His performances weren't merely musical. They were spiritual journeys guiding listeners through moments of surrender, celebration, and awe. What truly set Ron Kenoly apart from other artists of his time was his relentless focus on engagement. Concerts weren't passive events. They were participatory experiences. Choirs, orchestras, and congregations joined together in what felt like one unified voice of worship. Fans often describe his live performances as electrifying, even transformative. And his commitment to this style wasn't limited to large audiences. Even in smaller church settings, Kenoly maintained the same level of passion, ensuring that every note, every harmony, and every lyric carried the weight of heartfelt devotion. Yet, behind this meteoric rise and international acclaim, Kenoly remained deeply humble. He often emphasized that his music was never about personal fame, it was about glorifying God. This humility, combined with his talent, became a defining characteristic of his ministry. It's why decades later, even after facing health challenges and personal loss, his influence remained undiminished. But as his career soared, life wasn't without its trials. Even at the height of his global influence, health issues began to creep in. Reports emerged of hospitalizations, pneumonia scares, and heart-related problems. Early signs that the man who seemed larger than life on stage was, like everyone else, human. And while audiences around the world sang his songs with joy, few were aware of the personal battles he faced behind the scenes. Still, Kenoly's focus never wavered. Even in the years leading up to his passing, he continued to post messages of gratitude on social media, celebrating the people who supported his 48-year ministry and the 123 nations his music reached. His final Instagram post on February 1st, 2026, just 2 days before his death, stands as a testament to a man who, even at the end, thought of others, not himself. And as the world now mourns his passing, it becomes clear Ron Kenoly didn't just create songs. He created a legacy that shaped modern worship, influenced countless artists, and touched millions of hearts worldwide. But the story of his last days, the health battles he faced, and the peaceful transition he experienced remain some of the most compelling parts of his journey, moments that reveal the human side of a gospel legend. Even the most vibrant lives sometimes face quiet battles behind the scenes. And for Ron Kenoly, the last few years of his life were marked by health challenges that tested both his spirit and resilience. Fans around the world knew him as the high-energy worship leader whose voice could fill arenas and stadiums, but few realized the private struggles he endured in his final years. In June 2024, Ron faced a serious health scare that shook his family deeply. Hospitalized with pneumonia, he experienced complications caused by conflicting medications, a reminder that even the strongest among us are not invincible. His son Samuel later shared that those moments were frightening, but also moments where faith became a tangible source of strength for the family. Pneumonia is often dangerous for older adults, and for someone with underlying heart issues like Ron, it became a significant hurdle. Yet, even in the hospital, Kenoly's focus wasn't on fear. It was on hope, prayer, and trust in God's plan. These health challenges weren't isolated. Over the years, Kenoly reportedly dealt with chronic heart-related issues that gradually affected his energy and mobility. For someone whose career thrived on physical stamina, leading choirs, conducting full orchestras, and performing with explosive vitality, these limitations were undoubtedly difficult. Friends, family, and colleagues noticed that while he slowed down, his passion for worship never waned. He remained engaged in ministry, offering guidance, inspiration, and encouragement even when he could no longer be on stage as frequently. The final chapter of his life, however, reflected the same faithfulness that had defined his ministry for nearly half a century. According to his longtime music director Bruno Miranda, Ron's last days were peaceful, surrounded by loved ones, and imbued with the same energy he brought to worship. Miranda described how, even in quiet moments, Ron reflected on the blessings of his ministry, the people he had mentored, and the lives he had touched through music. There was no fear, only gratitude. Just 2 days before his passing, on February 1st, 2026, Ron took to Instagram to post a message that now carries profound significance. He listed the names of the many people who had supported him through his 48-year ministry and thanked them for helping him reach 123 nations. It was a public reflection of a life lived in service, a final testament to a man who prioritized worship, gratitude, and connection over fame or recognition. For fans reading those words after his death, it became a bittersweet farewell, a final reminder of his humility and the heart behind the music. In the early hours of February 3rd, 2026, Ron Kenoly passed away peacefully at the age of 81. While the official cause of death was not publicly released, family and close associates emphasized that his transition was serene, a peaceful crossing into eternity, to behold the worship he lived. For the world of gospel music, the loss is immeasurable. Yet, even in death, Ron Kenoly leaves behind a legacy that is alive in every choir, every congregation, and every believer whose worship he shaped. His music, from Ancient of Days to Lift Him Up, Morning into Dancing, and Sing Out, remains a blueprint for what modern worship can aspire to be: joyful, heartfelt, and transformative. More than the notes or the performances, it's the energy, the intention, and the love in his music that continues to inspire new generations of worshipers and musicians alike. Ron Kenoly's life teaches a profound lesson. Even when the body falters, a legacy built on passion, faith, and devotion endures. His songs will echo across continents, his influence will continue in choirs and congregations, and his story will inspire anyone who believes that worship is not just a performance, it's a life lived in praise. As we remember Ron Kenoly, we honor not only the gospel legend, but the man who brought joy, faith, and inspiration to millions. And as you listen to his music, know that each note carries more than melody. It carries decades of heart, faith, and the unstoppable spirit of a true worship icon. If you've been moved by Ron Kenoly's story and want to keep his legacy alive, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more gospel stories, and comment below with your favorite Ron Kenoly song or memory. Share this video with someone who needs to experience the joy, energy, and hope that only his music can bring.